The following program is being brought to you in part by
Community Health Net Health Centers. Rooted in the communities of Northwest Indiana, Community Health Net Health Centers offer family practice, pediatrics, behavioral health, OBGYN, eye care, and dental. Community Health Net Health Centers provides compassionate health care for all.
Good evening and welcome back to the LRP Network in downtown Hammond. I'm Don Clark along with our host for A Higher Calling, Dr. Glenn Harrison, the SamuraiDoc. Doctor, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
There he is.
Yes.
Doing good. It's all of a sudden it's Wednesday again, and it
Time
came
is
by
flying.
quick this time. And,
Fine.
so here we are, and it's great because we were able to bring back a good friend of yours, Hassan, who we had last week, and he's sitting there with that nice little tabletop
Demonstration.
Yeah, and it's just, and here we are.
What can I say?
It reminds me of two things. I gotta have a little more fun this weekend, and I really got to travel more. So, but here we are. So, gentlemen, I wanted to throw this out because this is actually something that came up over the weekend with some questions and some comments that my wife and I were making. As we're getting into the fall now, and we've got not only allergies coming around, but we also have a number of different ailments that start popping up, at least for me this time of year, when it starts to get a little cooler and it starts to get a little bit more, the arthritis part of it comes out. The question that I had was dealing with ointments and salves. And instead of being able to go in and try this and this and this and this, if you're dealing with something that is like a seasonal ailment or a seasonal arthritis type condition like I have in my hand, what is recommended?
Me personally, I recommend the salves or the oils or the lotions or the ointments, CBD specifically. My mother has arthritis in both her knees and her hips, and she recently started using the CBD products. And she rubs a little bit on her knees, she throws a heating pad on, and she's running around like a teenager, for the next 3 days. So, and she stopped taking I guess I would say traditional medicines that the doctors had prescribed to her. mostly painkillers and stuff like that, because the CBD is just, works a lot better.
It's
And I
actually,
just, you can use it all year round. You can definitely use it all year round. But I know a lot of the sales for CBD products go up this time of year because of people that do suffer, with those ailments, during the colder months.
exactly. Yeah, it's weird because it Labor Day rolls around and it's like, nice and relaxing, kind of summer comes to an end, and then all of a sudden the next day, pow, gets a little cooler, and that arthritis kicks in. So I know this is something that we had spoken with Dr. Harrison about before, but always like to get a second opinion, especially from somebody with a big jar of fun stuff in front of them. So Dr. Harrison, we're going to move
right here.
See that?
little jar right
there?
Oh, okay.
Dr. Harrison, we're going to throw it back to you. Good evening, doctor.
Good evening. No, in regards to your point, I look at it as more as an integrationalist. I try to come from as many different modalities as I possibly can. And cannabis for me has a anti-inflammatory effect that allows me to spare medications, particularly the non-steroidals. But when I say spare them, I mean cut down on their usage. They can also be employed simultaneously, but if you're using something that's already decreased your threshold or your burden of pain, you can use it nominally, just a little bit, just a dab will do you. Mm-hmm. The other question is what other modalities that you can utilize at the same time to sort of help things out, other than the allopathic remedies. And everybody knows as far as physical therapy, but very few people think about diet. And for me, in my practice, we talk about that an awful lot because there are a number of things that are also concomitantly anti-inflammatory, including the type of oils that you're consuming on a regular basis. So it's more of a 360 approach. But I'm an old West Indian, so I believe in curry. I believe in curry goat, curry chicken, curry snapper. Yes, I do. And turmeric is a wonderful Ayurvedic drug, a medication. It's a plant and it's a spice. It's yellow curry, but within it are certain polyphenols that have definitive effects that haven't been put into a pill yet. So you still have to eat your medicine, make food your medicine in that regard. And if you make those changes, in addition to how much sugar you're consuming on a regular basis, what's your range of motion, what's your exercise, things of that nature, you can get through the winter with less pain, that's for sure. But wonderful. The important thing is not so much the pain as it is your functionality, your ability to get up and do what you got to do when you got to do it.
Yeah. I agree 1,000% with what you just said. So I can't even argue that. That's spot on.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. But being
minus the curry though. Minus the curry. I mean, curry goat. You got to throw that in there too now.
Yes, you do. Curry goat, curry chicken. Yes, man. Yes, all of that. What else you got for us, Don? You got any other questions for us?
No, I'm going to throw it back to you because you were getting ready to go into a question about the growing, and that was actually one of the things that we wanted to hear about too. So we'll let you go ahead.
Yeah.
Take the helm.
Yeah, I was just recently down in your neck. Well, not in Alabama, but I just got back from Memphis and Arkansas and Mississippi, and they're ready. They're legal, but only for CBD, aliquots. They're expecting things to change. Obviously, just like everybody else, the Deep South is a solid block, and so it provides a ample opportunity in the future. And I'm just looking at I'm looking at the market because as a provider, it's not so much for me to make the preparations, it's for me to judge the preparations and use them accordingly, guide my patients accordingly. And what I'm seeing a variety of approaches as far as the growers and the processors, particularly the growers, the companies, especially those out in California. And you were working in Las Vegas. You had a number of builds, didn't you, in Vegas and the Nevada area?
Yeah, we were a 40-acre farm in northern Nevada. We were also in Humboldt County in California. And as far as competition is concerned, we really don't have any. And I'm saying that because our focus primarily is on just growing the best flower. Yeah. Most of the farmers that you come across today, they're worried about branding or marketing a product or marketing a brand. And that's not what we're doing. We're just growing the best flower. We have processing companies that want to buy everything that we grow. We have distributors that want to buy everything we grow. and then they can label it and market it how they want to. So we don't get in that rat race.
Gotcha.
Our focus is strictly, hey, let's grow the best stuff that we can grow, and let everybody else, do the rest of the marketing.
Gotcha. And where do you see the growth in the industry going? At least from your end, what do you see?
Well, right now it's just going to expand. It's always expanding. I mean, we're currently in expansion.
Sure.
And I think it all based on people's, the product that you put out. I know that a lot of companies are now getting bought out. The big pharma's coming in and trying to get a foothold of the industry. We know that, our federal government is looking to legalize it federally, or at least decriminalize cannabis nationally. So you've got a lot of, as far as buyouts are concerned and stuff like that. So the competition will get big based on that, or get dangerous or more competitive just based on it being legal federally everywhere. But big pharma is what you have to watch out for, and because they're trying to buy everything they can buy right now.
And what about internationally? Because you're in Jamaica also. What do you see as far as the Caribbean?
The Caribbean markets are opening up, or more countries actually are opening up in the Caribbean. It's just moving a little bit slow. For us, we're lucky, to be in Jamaica and have the operations that we have there. And then our license in Jamaica also comes with a dispensary. But however, we are doing a deal with Replic Pharmaceuticals over in the Netherlands, and because the countries can export to each other, we're able to ship, most of our stuff to them. They, cash us out and we're good to go. And then they use it for a lot of their medical products and stuff like that,
Yes.
suppositories and creams, and they've got a whole line of stuff. And so that's who we are.
Do you also think that they'll maintain a proprietary type of a model as far as the states, or do you think they'll open it up to international competition at some point in time?
Well, I think once it's legal federally, then it will be open to that. That's why you see Canadian companies, come down to the United States and get on our stock exchange and so forth. So it's starting to open up, and it's going to be like that globally in a minute. Africa is doing some wonderful things. Clearly, Israel is doing a lot of great things in the cannabis industry. Mm-hmm. But Africa is starting to do some imports to like Europe, the Netherlands, and some stuff to Israel, and Colombia, and South America. They're doing some exports. So that model's already there. Gotcha. And companies like Canopy Growth and Aurora out of Canada, they've started that ball rolling actually. So they're all doing international trades and stuff.
I guess one of the questions that I had too for you, Hassan, was, a couple of years ago when things started changing here in the States, Colorado ended up getting that was my first experience with the dispensary. And when you would talk to the people in Colorado, because it was fairly new to them, well, now you're a couple of years down the road, and the perception of what you do has obviously changed, I think. Has it?
Yeah. We're talking about the stigmatization of everything.
Yeah, and
the stigma. Sorry, probably said that wrong. But it's the stigma of everything is changed a lot. And then also every state is different in regards to their regulations. So they're all learning from each other, I'm assuming, because they'll copy one from the other as they, time goes on and people advance and get more progressive. And also state agencies get more familiar with the actual business of it and understand what they're doing, with what works for most farmers and what doesn't work. Like in California, for instance, the taxes are ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And it's pushing smaller farmers out of the way. And that's what makes it difficult for minorities to stay in this business as well. Because of the taxes, they're really like, they're killing you. They're basically taking 75% of everything you bring in goes out in taxes. So it's kind of hard to survive as a small business, or a small farmer rather. And then you've got big pharma coming in and, they're coming in with their money and they can afford that, to take that ride, where a lot of these smaller farmers like myself are just getting priced out or taxed out rather.
Yeah, it does put you in a very enviable position though as a grower, because you mentioned the marketers and the people that are out there marketing. It's still fairly new, so it's still kind of a ready, fire, aim dilemma for them in some ways. But for you guys, it makes it very comfortable for you. So you're in a pretty nice position.
trying to stay that way.
Yeah, very cool. Very nice. Doctor?
No, I'm just wondering how all this is going to sort out for the end user, who is very obviously the patient. For my money, what I'm looking for is as clean a product, as natural a product with as full a spectrum as possible, that has a preparation that's amenable, and a variety of preparations which are amenable to that particular patient for their particular needs. And that's a challenge right now. And until we get more studies and more clinical studies, it's going to be difficult to kind of get this industry to where it should be, because once it gets there, it's going to boom. I mean, this is an adjunct or a replacement to a lot of the allopathic remedies that we have, with much less side effects. And if we can do anything approximating decreasing the what we call the iatrogenic burden, people coming into the hospital and getting stuff that they didn't need to get, shouldn't have got, having mistakes either through medications, procedures, care. If we can decrease that, we can salvage our reputations. Because
I agree with that. And what you find is, once it's legal federally, then I think there'll be some standard guidelines that all states would have to go by.
Yeah.
Because every state, like I said, has their different regulations and what they allow you to use in regards to, certain pesticides and different things. So that's why we, focus on doing everything organically. So that way you get the cleanest product possible, and, it's full spectrum.
Yeah.
So but every state has their own regulations, and that makes everything, it makes the playing field a little uneven, so to speak, especially for us when we have one state regulation that requires us to be at one level, and another state we could be at another level. So it's a back and forth thing. But I think federally, once it's legal, then there should be just a standard guideline. And I think all states should fall into that. And then, hey, this is classified as organic, or this is whatever the case may be. However you grow, you grow. But we need that, to come into play. And then going back to being, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, I hope it isn't an FDA model, because in that instance, you're talking about the big grows coming in and getting all the juice. And we need to have at least two tiers. We have to maintain smaller farmers, local farmers, so that we can get the biodiversity that we need and the different strains that we need. One company, two companies, three companies is not going to do it, and consolidation seems to be the standard model for this crap. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I equate it to craft beer. If you like fresh beer, then you're going to go to your local craft beer brewery and get some fresh beer. Otherwise, you'll get, Budweiser, which is made in one place and then shipped to all 50 states, or, 3 or 4 places, and it won't be as fresh. So it's the same thing with cannabis, and that's how I equate that too. So I definitely understand what you're saying about having fresh product, the cleanest, full spectrum and stuff like that. And you want to be able to get it locally, because that's the freshest you can get.
Wouldn't it be advantageous for all of the growers as you move forward with this, and it does become a national level, wouldn't it be more advantageous to have a group that would take over or that would start up and run everything, instead of giving it to an existing federal agency who could mess it up?
They will mess it up.
I agree, but I think what the federal government's going to do is going to treat it like alcohol. Like, it will be federally legal, but then every state has their own regulations and how they control cannabis within their state, just like they do with alcohol, or like the cigarette tax, where every state has different cigarette tax, and so I think it's probably more or less the federal government is going to be more hands off with it, and then leave it up to the states. My biggest concern would be what the taxes is going to be like at that point, and will the states now come down on the taxes so smaller farmers can survive? So that would be, one of the things I'd be worried about long term when it does go, legal federally.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once it goes federal, then you're looking at those states that have the lowest burden of taxes overall anyway. So you're looking at Vermont, you're looking at Tennessee, you're looking at Texas, you're looking at Florida. I mean, none of those, you're looking, is it Delaware? I'm not sure. But Delaware. That they have no state income taxes or person, but the real question is, how will they handle that as a business? but at least they have
Yeah.
the right outlook.
So you're right about those states not having those taxes for income. However, they're taxing the cannabis industry. So
yeah,
in every state, yeah. So like in California, the state gets to apply their own tax, the county gets to apply their own tax, and then the city.
I didn't say anything about Texas. I mean about California. You know, they're crazy out there.
I'm giving you an example of
I
how.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, in California, you wind up paying 75% of your revenue that comes in is going out in the taxes.
And Colorado isn't much better, is it?
But Colorado is closer to like 40%.
Okay. And how about Seattle? I mean, Washington State. I heard they were pretty high also.
We don't have a farm up there. I'm not really familiar with their regulations.
Yeah.
But like next year when Alabama goes medical, Alabama's tax are going to max out at 30%. Or 33%. So like, 13% goes to the state, 10% goes to the county, and then 10% goes to the local, municipality that you're in. So Alabama seems to be a little bit more fair-minded, and they've actually, learned, I guess, from what the other states were doing, their mistakes. And then why are we losing farms? Why can't people afford to stay, in business? And then the licensing fees, Georgia, for instance, that, they wanted to pay, you got to pay $200,000 for the license, and then it's $100,000 every year after that. And that's just for the license.
Wow.
But Georgia also requires you to grow indoors, and you're maxed out at 100,000 square feet. So as an investor, you wind up spending $5 million to set up, your indoor grow facility where you have to process and manufacture and package everything. You wind up spending $5, $6, $7, $10 million, and then, you're limited on how much money you can make, because it's going to take, 15 years even just break even. So like, again, another state regulation where, THC needs to be below 3% in Georgia. And, it's just kind of hard to make money in in the short term, you're not going to make the money like you would, normally in certain other states. So Alabama's being more fun. But again, once the feds make it legal, then we're going to be paying the federal taxes. So what is, how's that going to affect the tax rate with what states do and, and so forth. So I'm excited to see, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
But our focus, like I said, we'll continue growing, what we grow. We'll continue to strive to be the best at it and to provide the cleanest product there is on the market. And, that's what we care about.
Yeah. Well, I think for the smaller growers, it's going to become extremely important to derive as many revenue streams out of the plant as possible. And there are certain things that we haven't looked at. We haven't looked really at our industrial use, how to utilize the refuse that we develop from our grows and our cultivation, and how to put that into an industrial utilization. Jack Herer used to talk about that ad nauseum, especially when he wrote his book, The Emperor Has No Clothes. So that's really, for me, that's really the cup at the end of the rainbow, because if we can intercalate cannabis and cannabis products back into the industrial milieu, then it'll be more profitable and more sustainable for smaller producers and growers. So that's what I'm hoping happens in the short run. I think it can happen.
Yeah, and we're already there with the industrial usage right now. Ford Motor Company uses hemp for all their dashboards and parts of their door liners. General Motors is also using hemp products as well, hemp fibers. So it's already there, but the volume where they need it, smaller farmers can just hope to get a little piece of that pie to, to maintain.
Well, gentlemen, we have come to the end of our rainbow here, and Hassan, I really appreciate you coming back and sharing your wisdom with us. It's you're welcome back anytime. It's a pleasure talking to you. And
Don, hit me whenever you need me, man. I'm here.
I wish you nothing but the best. And Dr. Glenn Harrison, the SamuraiDoc, always a pleasure to be able to have you on here week after week. And we've got a couple of exciting shows coming up in the very near future as we get ready for our fall season here at the LRP Network. So Dr. Harrison, you have yourself a great week. Hassan Brown, have a great week too. And we will see you guys a little further on up the road. This has been the SamuraiDoc and A Higher Calling with Dr. Glenn Harrison. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
The Samurai Doc was brought to you in part by
Community Health Net Health Centers, rooted in the communities of Northwest Indiana. Community Health Net Health Centers offer family practice, pediatrics, behavioral health, OBGYN, eye care, and dental. Community Health Net Health Centers provides compassionate health care for all.